I grew up with chiropractic, which is such a blessing. But the curse is that I had no idea how effective it is and how much it influenced my life until I didn't have it.
Well, hello, everybody. Dr. Mary Oberstein, president of Life Chiropractic College West, and welcome to another edition of our Life by Life West. Today, me and my co-host, my love of my life, Dr. Mary Oberstein, partners in everything, crime and good things too.
No crime.
Have the honor to have a really close friend of ours, Dr. Sagi Hebron. Sagi, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Good to see you.
Absolutely. Sagi was a student at Life West not when I got here, but you came in while I was here. He just graduated 2.5 years ago, actually, and in March of 22. And he's just a phenomenal man, just doing amazing things. I'll give you a little bit about history about him. He was born and raised in San Diego, though his parents were in Israel. His father was Persian, but he was born in Israel. Mom was a Yemenite, born in Yemen, and born in Israel, but with a Yemenite family. They met, got married, and moved to the States. The father, I think your dad got a job here in the States at San Diego, raised the family there, had kids, raised the family, and right after high school, Sagi went to Israel. I'm sure he visited during the time, and he joined the Israeli Defense Force, and he was there for 3 years. Was a commander and found chiropractic while he was there, which he'll tell that story, and came back to the States, got his prerequisites, and just knew what he was going to do and was driven and came to Life West. And after Life West, I believe Sagi did some of his preceptorship in Israel, worked for a couple friends, the people that I know, and ended up, and then now he's in San Diego. Beautiful picture there. That's La Jolla, and a big surfer, loves to be outside, loves to hike, and he loves chiropractic. And he's started his own practice and has just really taken off and just done amazing things, which we'll get from him. And his office is called the Chiropractic Circle, and it's in San Diego. And thrilled to have you, man. We want to hear your story, Right, Mary, you're very excited about. I think my wife follows you on Instagram, or she, Mary, you tell me all the stuff, right? Like, what
I do. I keep you updated, and I don't know if I follow you or I stalk you. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. But then we were messaging. Do you remember that a couple of weeks ago? We were messaging,
Yeah.
And your message that you sent me was so beautiful that I read it to some people some administrators at Life West, and didn't I, Ron? I was like emotional reading it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mostly because it was you.
We got to get him on, and boom, we got you going. So Hey, listen, let's start off. Mary, I'm going to ask the first question because I found it fascinating. And I don't really, if you told me the story, I apologize. I forgot. That might have been years ago. But you were in the Israeli Defense Force, putting your time in, giving back to a country that you love so much, left San Diego and, after high school. And then you found chiropractic and came back and immediately just kind of dived in and did your prereqs and got to Life West. What was it? How'd you find how did chiropractic find you?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It's actually due to my parents. When I was a baby and my parents moved here, I was born in San Diego, obviously, but when my parents moved here, they didn't really know what was the best way to go about health and healthcare. Mm-hmm. And they kind of found chiropractic through the Jewish community. There was a chiropractor that was in our synagogue. Shout out to Dr. Richard Stein, also a Life West graduate.
Yeah.
And he was, talked to my parents and said, hey, he just kind of shared the message of chiropractic and how beautiful it is and how you can really grow a family through chiropractic with the philosophy. And he introduced it to them. And so since I was a kid, I was getting chiropractic care. And I always tell this to people that it's a blessing and a curse because I grew up with chiropractic, which is such a blessing. But the curse is that I had no idea how effective it is and how much it influenced my life until I didn't have it. Yeah. Right. Uh-huh. And so that's when I really found chiropractic, when I didn't have it. And that's when I moved to Israel. In Israel, there are only 130 chiropractors in the entire country. Now it's maybe like 140. It's growing really fast. But it was just, that is when I really realized, like, wow, like I'm functioning differently. I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just not the same person.
It's kind of like eating well or going to the gym regularly, and then you can't do that, right? Or it's not available to you to do, I should say. And then all of a sudden, boom, you realize, wow, all my life I've been doing that, and I can't do it for 3 years. So you felt the decline in your health, obviously, or decline in your being, I should say.
Oh, so much so I moved to Israel. I was super active as a kid. I competed in basketball. I ran cross country. I even held the San Diego record for 5K for a certain amount of time. I was really competitive. And when I moved to Israel right out of high school, I just didn't have chiropractic. And, in the military, it's probably the most grueling physical, you're put through the most grueling physical tests probably out of anything you would be doing. For me, at least in my life. And I think like a week before I even drafted into the military, the guys on the kibbutz, they're like, hey, we should like do a tryout to see, how good you guys are, just to give you guys a taste of what it's going to be like in the military. So they took us out for like 2 days, no sleep, just carrying stretchers, push-ups, like nonstop physical exercise. And I really wanted to show myself and be the best. And the next day I just couldn't move from my bed, and I had no idea what was going on. I just knew my back was hurting so much, and I just sucked it up. It healed after like a month, about a month. I couldn't try out for all the like special forces that I wanted to try out in the military because of that spinal injury. It really changed my life up until now. And my military experience, I still did pretty well. I was still really good actively. I could have been so much better though. And I knew that.
Yeah.
And it really bothered me. And the only time I realized, and no one could help me, I went to orthopedists, I did physical therapy. No one could tell me what I had. Everyone just said, everyone's back hurts in the Army. Like that's just a thing. And it was like accepted. And I didn't accept that. So when I went back home to San Diego to visit for like 2 weeks, obviously I went straight back to my chiropractor, Dr. Stein. And I'm like, hey, like, please help me.
Yeah.
And he's like,
and you could find it's like so much bigger than I mean, this obviously, bigger than back pain, but it's amazing that when you went there for that time period, your performance levels were down also, and it's like when you don't, it's crazy. I couldn't imagine going 3 years without having chiropractic, even having a break for 2 weeks and getting checked. If I was getting checked like 4 times a day, hopefully clear. But it's just amazing. It's people don't realize, and the difference. So you're right. It is the good and the bad, right?
Yeah, and that's when I truly found chiropractic. When he's like, you said, listen, you have this and this and this, and this is not like we can treat this.
Yeah.
And I was getting treated, and it just didn't hurt ever again, and I wouldn't have flare-ups.
Yeah.
So when was the moment where you went, like, because you could have been like, this is great, thank you. When was the moment you were like, I got to do this? Yeah.
So in the military, they teach you, it's like a brotherhood mentality, and everyone is trying to help everyone be the best they can. And that was engraved in my mind. And when I got that adjustment, when I came back to San Diego, there was an explosion in my brain. Like, whoa, this is the coolest thing ever. I can help treat someone with my hands like that. That was so cool to me. Like, I don't need anything else, no other machines, no medications, nothing else like that. Someone can come into my office. It feels like you're providing someone with their superpower. You're just allowing their body to heal naturally. And that was the coolest thing to me. And what was amazing is how effective it was. And that mentality that I had at the time from the military of helping others and, that team mentality, that's what kind of drove me to to be a chiropractor. I wanted to help others, and I wanted to build a community. And that's also kind of what built the name of my practice, the Chiropractic Circle. I want to build a circle, and a community around that.
Yeah. Wow.
That's so cool. Okay. So let's continue on. So you went to Israel. So you preceptored in Israel for how long?
I was there for about a year.
About a year.
And a couple months.
Okay. Then you went to San Diego.
Yeah. So I actually finished my preceptorship like 3 months into being in Israel. And right after I finished those preceptorships, I was in 2 different offices. Yeah. And I started my own business in Israel. I started my own little chiropractic business, going to the patient's house. And it did really well. I actually, by 4 months in, I was seeing like 6 patients a day. And that's going to their house. So, and I did everything myself, all the marketing, all the business, everything, scheduling. And so that taught me a lot. And if you know, how things work in Israel versus in America, it's a lot more difficult to start a business in Israel
than
it is in America. So that taught me a lot about myself. I went through a lot of difficult experiences, and then I moved to America because I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm just getting taxed way more. I could just start in America, live at home for a little bit. It's so much more comfortable and easier.
And Sagi, people don't understand that, if they haven't been to Israel, they don't understand that you could go 20 miles and it could take, an hour, to get. It's not like, oh yeah, you just went from here to here to here. 6 people, 8 people, 10 people. That's a full day. And I know you don't spend a lot of time with people, but it's just like the traveling, the distance, and being able to do that. It's man, that's I know what it's like there. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
And that's actually what kickstarted my business in Israel. I was at a barbershop with a friend, and I was talking to this guy outside, really wealthy guy. I had no idea. And I'm like, why don't you, he's like, oh, you're a chiropractor. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, why don't you go to your chiropractor? He's like, because it just takes too long. And it was like literally 2 miles away from his house.
Yeah.
But it just took so long to get there. And so I was like, you know what, I'll come to you. And that's kind of how it started.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's great.
Okay. So then when you got to San Diego, did you already have a plan of like, this is what I'm going to do? Or did you?
Yeah. So before I came to San Diego, I knew I wanted to start my own practice. I was so driven. After what I went through in Israel and how difficult it was, I was like, all right, piece of cake.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't a piece of cake. That's just not how things work.
Right.
But I was super driven to start my own thing because I really wanted to grow in that way. I feel like just through my experience, the more I challenge myself personally, that's where I've found the most growth. And so I think it's a journey in life, not just to, do things that are fun and great, but also to challenge yourself so that you can grow and become the best version of yourself. And so I thought it would be a disservice to myself not doing that and not trying at least. So I knew I wanted to open a practice for sure and to start that journey.
So I think this is what I hear, at least at the college, I think one of the, and you know what, when we surveyed people, we surveyed at one point graduates that were out from 5 to 15 years, right? We didn't want the new ones, and we didn't want the ones that are out for 20 years, whatever. And we asked them, we said, we know we do great things here, but what could we do better? And this was a while back. This was probably going back 5, 6 years. And what came back on the surveys were really great stuff. And the one that stuck out was more business.
Yeah.
More business. And yet we know that if you teach someone accounting in ninth quarter, it's really not going to make any sense to them when they get out, and so just, I don't know if it's demystify or prove that right, because obviously you just jumped in and did your own thing and got your space, did your thing. What were some of the challenges that you had and what got you through that? And not just challenges, but what were the good also, that you're able to work with.
It's a good question. So, there's a lot of business is really hard to learn I mean, we're chiropractors, we're not, we don't have MBAs unless you do that, obviously, but you're coming out of chiropractic school. And I do want to give credit to the school. I find myself looking back into my business classes notes pretty often, even now, because there are a lot of things that, shout out to Dr. Tayel. I actually do think there are a lot of things that were really important because you bridge that business and chiropractic together. It's really hard to find chiropractic specific business tips outside of school. And so that was something that really helped me. I also would advise people to get business mentors in every field, not in every field, but in different fields as well, because they have a outside view in on business in general. And again,
so who to be specific about that? Like who have you mentored with? Not names, it doesn't matter, but what do they do?
Yeah, so I have a couple business mentors. One is in jewelry, right? The jewelry business. One is owns a cabinet business in San Diego, obviously, and another one has a auto shop and auto.
But what are you learning from them?
So I actually meet with them like every couple of months, I alternate kind of. And it really is more to fill up my cup rather than get like specific business tips. It's just surrounding myself with people like that have succeeded, and they will constantly tell me like, you can do it. It's easy. You can do it. You can do this. You can do this. You just need to do it. And it's so funny to hear that, because to me, it's like there's so much going on and there's so much, internal noise of, oh, I need to do this and I need to do this in order to grow. And they're like, it's just erase all of that and just, keep the end in mind, keep the end goal in mind, and just continue step by step, day by day, and you'll get there. And you just need to be proactive, right? And begin with the end in mind and put first things first, things that are important. Keep pushing.
Are you also meeting with them and asking them specific questions though too? Like, hey, I ran into this, or I ran into a problem. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So I do ask them certain things like that. It's hard though, because they're not in my field. So they will have difficulty, understanding kind of what direction I want to take it in. But I do ask them, like, how did you deal with, rejection of customers, or when you have like a weak month, how did you deal with that mentally, right? And it's really nice to hear the confidence that they have in me, and in my practice, and that really
But also the reassurance that everyone goes through it.
Yeah,
like you just said, like doesn't matter if you have an automotive place, if you have a bakery, everyone's going to have like slower months and whatever. It's part of growth. It's like I don't think I've ever met a parent whose child learning to walk didn't fall. Right. Everyone gets bumps and bruises, along the way, and it's just and it's some might be worse than others, but it still continues on, and guess what? They don't fall anymore. They'll fall differently, right? But yeah, I think it's awesome that you reached out, and I think it's awesome you reached out outside the profession, because everyone looks in the profession, but when they look in the profession, they might be getting tips which are really good. There's good people in the profession, obviously, but it might not fit them because we have a certain style that we use when we practice, right? And you could say, hey, Mary, Ron, how did you do this? Well, our ROF or our might be geared a certain way, so everything kind of lines up. And not that that's bad, and you can take tips out of that, but what I'm trying to say is that, you talk to people outside the profession, you're going to get the truth, the business stuff, everyone goes through it, Mary, I know you were going to say something.
Oh, no, I was going to say, so what has been the biggest challenge, or what has surprised you the most that was harder than you thought it would be?
So I would say the hardest thing for me is because I started from zero, scratch. I did look into like buying other practices, and I was like, I don't see myself changing everything and all the systems. I really want to make this like custom to me. And so that way I can build my community the way I want it to be. And the biggest challenge is getting out there and getting patients. It's very difficult to get new patients when you're just starting and no one knows you. And I think that chiropractic is amazing in that a lot of people, at least in San Diego, know they need chiropractic, but they just don't know you're there. So you really have to get out there and socialize and just talk to people, just explain to them your mission and your goals. And people will, people love that. People just want attention and they want, love and communication. And so I that was really challenging for me in the beginning. I was like, how do I do this? And how do I do this efficiently and get my message across?
Yeah.
So that was probably the hardest part for me.
So what was your answer to that? And I'm sure you're still working on it, but what was your aha or some aha moments around that?
Yeah. So I started doing events in my office. And I was just inviting literally everyone, especially people that I knew weren't really like in the health field or understood what health really means, right? Our body's ability to adapt to stress. And so I just invited people and I brought food and I was just trying to build a community. Really, that's it. And just have it in my office and just communicate with people. And so I did multiple events like that, which was huge and got me a lot of patients. And I did a lot of outreach events. So I would go to, I'd get one or two patients. And then from there, this patient plays flag football, once a week on Sundays. So I was like, hey, I'm going to go to your flag football. I'm going to bring a table and I'm just going to communicate to all your friends and give them a deal. Right. And that got me another 5 patients. And I would just keep that rolling. And I started lecturing here and there, also doing lectures in different locations. I started doing lectures at like BNI groups as well. I did one yesterday, actually went really well. And on general things, what's amazing is people aren't really taught about the human body. Yeah. So people don't know, and we're in this body our whole lives. So I just teach about pain, how it works, how the healing process works. And just to give people a little bit more, and that blows their mind. And they always ask for more.
I've got a question. Maybe I'm going to jump in front of you. It's if we were to walk in your practice, this week at, different times, you got a lot of people in there because I know you're doing really well. What would we see? Like who is your avatar?
Yeah. So,
and I know you have young and I know you have old and, in between, but generally, and I will tell you this, and Mary, you tell me if this is true or not. When our daughter and son-in-law were in practice with us in San Diego, and we had a reception room that probably had, I don't know, maybe 15, 18 chairs, something like that, right? And they'd be packed and people would be standing around and you could literally, you'd be 90% accurate picking out who was going to Lauren and Matt's practice and who was going to Ron and Mary's side of the office, kind of thing. Even though we all took care of kids and we took care of adults and, grandparents and stuff like that. But they just had this avatar that, you just can tell. What's yours?
So for us, for me, actually, I'm a lone soldier, man. I do everything myself. I'm in the front, I'm in the back, I'm adjusting, scheduling, doing everything. And I think my patients really like that, the personal experience. Yeah. And I think that attracts a lot of people that are similar to me, right? I try to really have a positive energy in the office. Before I get to the office about 20 to 30 minutes before I start. And that's just to get into the mindset, right? Of give, do, love, serve, right? I have that written in my office on my whiteboard. And I really just try creating an environment and a vibe of love and healing. And people feel that, people are in there. Everyone is improving in my office. I don't have one patient that isn't improving, which is really cool. And it even shocked me because I had some really serious cases that came in. We see, I'm not so big yet. I'm just like under 10 months into practice. Yeah. But I prevented 2 to 3 surgeries already.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm seeing around 42 adjustments a week
Yeah. Yeah.
and 5 new patients a week. So
Yeah.
I'm growing really fast. Thank God. And it's really fun. I really enjoy my time in the office. I don't feel like I'm working an hour.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's so awesome.
And I'm pretty sure in my message to you when we were chatting back and forth, I asked you, are you having fun or is it a grind? And I think your answer was, oh, I'm for sure having fun and it's a grind
Yeah.
because like 10 months in, like you shouldn't be smooth sailing. Sorry, but you should
Yeah.
be, you should be tired. Like you should be working hard. And
Yeah.
I think Ron, were you looking for like an average age of the patient?
Yeah, I'm looking for more like who you're attracting in, and I'm not going to let you
Yeah.
get away without saying it, but we're definitely coming to the end of our time. But yeah, like would it be an 18-year-old to 30-year-old or millennial or a Gen X or Gen Z or who like, or is it everybody? Because you're getting out to the whole community, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's a mix of everyone. I have pediatric patients, I have pregnant patients, I have 70-year-olds. I would say the average would be around 40 though. So I have a lot of 40-year-olds, 30 to 40s, and some 50s
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So
And are
very,
you
very,
all
very
cash
much.
or
All cash and personal injury. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's
So
great.
cash, and the only thing you do on the side would be personal injury besides
Yep.
that. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And 20 new patients a month is beautiful. And if they're coming from you or from referrals, yeah, you watch the trajectory grow now. It just goes so quick. So awesome. Awesome. Mary, anything?
I was going to say, I have a question. I have a question so I get a lot of messages from Life West grads wanting to have a conversation. They've been out usually as an associate, and now they're afraid to open their own practice, but they're kind of like ready to move on from the associate position. What advice would you give someone who's, in that position, maybe because they're usually pretty scared about opening their own practice, even if they have the means to open their practice? What would be your advice since this is something you just did and you did it recently?
So my advice is you've probably already built a practice before. You just haven't realized yet. And what I mean by that is you're just building a community, right? And it's just a community of health and well-being. And you probably did so many things where you led, and leadership is just helping someone realize their true potential, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're doing with chiropractic. You're showing that their body can reach true potential of healing. And that's what chiropractic is. And you've already probably done that before. Yeah, there are other things that come into play with that. But the beautiful part is that challenge is just going to make you stronger and make you grow and allow you to adapt to a lot of other things in life outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to hone down on your business is what you make of it, right? If you put the effort in, you're going to bear the fruit. If you don't put the effort in and you want to go a little bit more, take your time. That's also possible. And so that's what's so nice. You can take it at your pace. And I don't think it's about how many patients you see. It's more about of the number of lives you change.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's something that I think it'll change your life. So your life will change and grow as you're changing others people's lives. And that feeling of content is so beautiful. And I really hope and think that everybody should experience that.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
That's great.
I'll say this as we're about to end, but I'll say this, that what warmed my heart with what you said before was the give, do, love, serve, because, I think that no matter what people do in business, and I lecture this all the time, right? Wherever I am around the world, you could take a servant, person who is ingrained with giving, doing, loving, and serving, and wanting to take care of people. You can teach them the business. But 100% of the time you could do that. but I don't know if that's the same. It's not the same for someone who knows the business, but doesn't have the service attitude. There's something that just gets inside of us that's just, I want to serve. I want to give back. I want to make a difference in the world. And that's really the purpose, right? It's really the why. And it was just, I love it every time I have Life West grads. It just rolls off your lips so well, because we've done our job infusing that, because you'll get your adjustments and you'll learn all that stuff, but that to me is the advantage. So thank you for just saying that, because it just let me know that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Wow. Well, listen, we got to end. I mean, we could just go on, but we usually ask a couple questions, and we're going to ask you very quick. I mean, we just want innate, just a thought that comes up, no more than 15, 20-second answer. But just whatever hits you right now, say whatever comes up to your heart or comes into your mind. Mary, you want to start?
Yes. Okay. So the first question is, if you could go back and you're standing in front of Sagi, first day of first quarter at Life West, okay, with all of your knowledge and wisdom now, what would you say to him? What advice would you give him?
All right. Just firing off the top of my head. I would tell myself to do a better job of figuring out my weaknesses earlier on. And I think the only way to do that, for me, at least personally, is to challenge myself as much as possible. So I wish I would have done more, even if that would mean, taking up a lot more time and less time with friends. I think I would have gained a lot more from challenging myself even more.
Dude, that is so surprising to hear. I got to tell you, because here you were president of the student council, doing this, running these clubs, all that kind of stuff. I don't know how much more you could do, but I like that, because you're about the.
I was thinking the same thing.
I like it. All right, second question I have for you, right?
Okay.
Same thing. That's whatever comes right to you. So that was who you were speaking to Sagi the first day in school. Now you're speaking to Sagi, Dr. Sagi, just graduated 2.5 years ago. Knowing what you know now, what piece of advice would you give him?
I would say enjoy the pursuit of your potential. So enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey of getting to the goals that you like, and then keep bouncing on to the next one, and keep going. I would really, I just want to enjoy the journey. I think that's like the most important part for me.
Mary, you said it before, right? Enjoy the grind.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Enjoy all of it, accept all of it, right?
It's awesome.
Taking it in.
Yeah, all of it. Then it grows, and everything grows from all of it, right? We're always looking for the sunshine and flowers, and the truth is, most of our growth comes from the rain, the mud. When we look back on life, where we had our biggest leaps, our inflection points, are usually, what we had to strive to get up to, climb the mountain and go through all the stuff to get there. That's what made it so beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you, man. Sagi, it's great to see you. It's great to see San Diego. Mary and I spent many a time. Our first place that we had in La Jolla was literally looking out our window, seeing Children's Beach right there. We're right on the water. It was just beautiful. And it brings back a lot of great memories. And so thanks for being with us today. Thanks for sharing from your heart. Great to see you. And to our audience, thank you. Thanks for coming in, week out, and checking out these Life by Life West. Our opposite weeks, we drop these every 2 weeks. The opposite weeks, we drop our Life West leadership line. There's a lot of people right now thinking about taking the step. Should I go into practice? Should I not go into practice? Private practice, or doctors who have been out for 10 years, in associateship, just still thinking about it. We get comfortable, but I love what Sagi said. It's always good to challenge ourselves, always good to step out of our comfort zones, and always good things are going to come. There's enough people, enough safety nets around that we can make a difference. And if you're making a difference where you are right now and loving it, you are in the right place. So we're very excited about that. So anyways, thank you for joining us. And just remember to keep loving those around you and hugging those around you and sharing and letting people know that they are much more powerful than they were ever led to believe. As Dr. Sagi said, the healing power within them is much more powerful than they ever even knew about. And just keep letting people know that their potential is right within them. It's not from the outside, it's from the inside. Good. Until our next time, for Dr. Sagi, for Dr. Mary, and myself, we'll bid you adieu and trust that you go out and make this world a better place. See you later.